Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage, an equal housing lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, LoFi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and our Yankees are still alive in the World Series with their win last night, beating the Dodgers 11-4. Anthony Volpe with the big grand slam in the third inning, Austin Wells with the solo shot in the sixth, and then Gleyber Torres with the three-run homer in the eighth. They win 11-4. They force a Game 5 where Garrett Cole is on the mound. Garrett Cole is on the mound against Jack Flaherty, ironically a guy the Yankees could have gotten. And seeing their lack of depth in the rotation, it was nice to have had him in this series. So yeah, the Yankees, they are alive for now. They are alive for now. But there is a long way to go, a lot of work to do if they want to be champions. But they're still alive. So we'll give them that. But still, a ton of work to be done if they want to be champions.
Yeah, absolutely. At least they didn't get swept.
Yeah.
That's the positive.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is. And, Game 1 obviously had the chance, and boom, going for Nestor Cortez instead of Tim Hill, who's been brilliant this series.
I know.
Just putting Nestor in a bad spot and taking Cole out the first sign of danger on Friday night. And then kind of that hurt the bullpen too. Then you need extra outs after going to extra inning. So, yeah, there's still a ton of work to do. You hope that last night the lineup figure some things out. Like Volpe's really struggling. Judge had a hit last night, so hopefully the lineup figures some things out. But yeah, there's still a lot of work, and hopefully, at least at least you win tonight, maybe, and the Dodgers aren't celebrating on your field. I think it's a little pride there, but yeah, a lot of work to do, and a hole that really could have stayed out of it if Aaron Boone had any clue how to manage a baseball game.
I'm a little bit more of a Boone guy. I mean, Boone has grown on me a little bit more than you because, he got him to this point this year. And when they were not, let's be honest, the Orioles were picked to win the division this year, so he got him to this point. But, yeah, he definitely made mistakes in Game 1, pulling Garrett Cole there. He definitely made mistakes in Game 1, pulling Garrett Cole. Because if you say he goes 7 innings, you have, Canley to pitch the 8th and Weaver to pitch the 9th. And then you said it, going to Tim Hill instead of Nestor Cortez. And, yeah, you could sit there and try to say, oh, well, if the Yankees didn't won that game, maybe they didn't win last night. No. The Yankees were going to win last night regardless because that was a bullpen game. The Dodgers pitched out a bullpen game. If the Yankees won Game 1, this series would be tied right now. But because we blew Game 1, we're in a very, very still, even though they won last night, they're still in a really, really tough spot in being down 3-1 in this series. They got to pretty much not make baseball history because the Red Sox didn't 04, but pretty much World Series history. And here's the thing. If the Yankees win tonight, they do make World Series history because they would be the first team down 0-3 to force a Game 6 in the World Series. So, Yankees are really, really tough now, but we'll talk about what they need to do to make this historic comeback. We'll talk about what the Yankees need to do to make this historic comeback, and I'll start. And for me, it's got to start with Garrett Cole. And he pitched really well in Game 1. And obviously, as we talked about, Boone took him out after 88 pitches, which he shouldn't have done, but he pitched really well in Game 1. So Garrett Cole's got to have a really, really good start tonight. Garrett Cole he's got to be like he was in Game 1, a really, really good start like he was in Game 1. Number 2, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here. Aaron Judge is obviously got to start hitting because they're not going to come back. If Aaron Judge continues to hit the way he's been hitting, I know he had that base hit last night late in the game, but if he continues to hit the way he's hitting, there's no way this team comes back in the series. There's no way they come back. And number 3, the team just got to keep hitting. It's got to keep hitting the way they hit last night, and not the way they hit in the first 3 games of the series. 7 runs in the first 3 games, 11 runs last night. The lineup started to get hot last night. It's got to continue to stay hot, and all those things have to happen. Not one thing can't happen for this team. For this team. If one of those things doesn't happen, this team will lose the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. It came 3 good ones. Yeah, my number one, same with yours. It's they need a big outing for Garrett Cole tonight. Yeah, he pitched really well in game 1, and obviously, they're only through 80 pitches. Thought you get somebody on, and we go to the bullpen, and what happened from there. So again, if you're Garrett Cole making the big bucks, 36 mil, and I expect him to have a really good outing tonight, and they're obviously going to need it. Number 2 for me is stop making the dumb errors in the field and on the base paths. Like, you're not playing the Guardians of the Royals. Like, you got away with those mistakes against them. You cannot continue to run yourself out of innings, and give the Dodgers extra out because they're so potent. They have a really good lineup. It's not a team you want to give extra outs to. Like on that Wells off the wall double last night. How does Volpe not score on that?
I know. And that's the issue. It's just so many of these mental mistakes. I mean, and defensive mistakes in game 1. Torres knocked the ball down. Keep Ohtani at second base. Knock the ball down. Keep Ohtani at second base. Then you have a mental mistake last night with Volpe. You really won the game. And then Stanton in game 3 getting thrown out the plate.
Yeah. That was another one too that was not good. And that one on the Torres play, there should have been somebody backing up at the pitcher's mound. And nobody was there. So, and then third one is Boone does not cost him the game either with his managerial decisions. Again, why are we still pitching to Freddie Freeman? And why are we giving him a fastball up and in where that's where he wants it? Especially because he wants to pull the ball too. And at Yankee Stadium, he doesn't need to get all of that, the baseball to hit it out. Like, why are we still throwing to him? He's killed us. And, like that, the bullpen decisions, like hitting Trevino on Saturday night, the bases loaded. Trevino's not a good bad hitter.
I know. Just keep Wells in the lineup. You saw Wells hit a home run last night. I know we didn't like Wells in the 4-hole. I couldn't stand Wells in the 4-hole, but keep him in the lineup. He's definitely a better hitter than Trevino.
Yeah, like that's another one. So I just, again, Boone cost him game 1, could very obviously cost him again, because he's a guy that since became the manager, he hasn't won a playoff series outside of AL Central teams. He's lost to the Astros, he's lost to the Red Sox, he's lost to the Rays. Not counting a wild card game, he hasn't beaten anybody outside the AL Central. That says a lot.
I never thought about it, but you're right. I never thought of it that way, but you're right. He's never beaten a team outside. Yeah, because I know he won that 1 game playoff against the A's in 2018, but 2019 he beat the Twins. 2020 he beat the Guardians in that first round series. 2022 he beat the Guardians again. A lot of wins against the Guardians. 2024 Guardians. Yeah, he's never beat a team outside the AL Central. It's crazy to think that he hasn't beat a team out of the AL Central. It's crazy to think that.
Yeah, it is. So that's why I just, again, you told me Joe Torre gonna be in the booth, in the dugout tonight. Feel better about our chances, but with that guy in there, it's hard to feel good about Aaron Boone being the manager of this team. So yeah, it's pretty hard, especially because that Rays one too he blew because he pitched Devi Garcia in the first inning, and then Jay Happ, who after that game I still remember was not happy with that decision because he's never came out of the bullpen before, and he did the same thing with Nestor. He never learned his lesson. So why would he on after game 1?
Yeah, I know. That was crazy. He put in Nestor and didn't put in Tim Hill. Tim Hill, that was crazy. Mm-hmm. So now we've talked about the Yankees' perspective. Let's move over to the Dodgers' perspective, who are on the verge of winning their second championship in 5 years and their first full season. They've been knocking on the door for a while, but this would be their first full season championship. Even though in 2020, even if it was a full season, I think they still had a very good chance of winning in 2020 because they were one of the favorites to win the World Series in 2020. So, what do the Dodgers have to do to close this thing out? And number one, just need another good start from Flaherty. I think they have another good start from Flaherty. they're in good shape. And then that turns it over to their bullpen that's been lights out all postseason. If they do those things, they got a really good chance. And then number three, their lineup has to continue. Their lineup has to be a little bit more consistent. Their lineup has to be a little more consistent. If they get more, I know Otani's hurt, but they got to get more out of him. They got a home run from Will Smith last night. They got a home run from Teoscar Hernandez. But outside of Freeman, their lineup's got to be a little bit more consistent. But if they do even two of those three things, they are going to win their second World Series in 5 years.
Yeah, for me, Jack Flaherty's got to pitch well tonight. And he was really good in Game 1, but Game 5 against the Mets, when that was at Citi Field, it was a little cooler outside. His fastball was 2 miles per hour slower than usual, and they hit him hard that night. So I don't know if it was the weather. Maybe he had a little bit harder of a time, warming up, and maybe that could be something that helps out the Yankees tonight. Not totally loosened. Maybe they can see advantage of that, but they need a big one from him tonight. And yeah, with the Dodgers lineup as well, I think for the series they're 4 for 20. Like they got to be better running the scoring position. They've had kind of their chances, to kind of tackle on some runs there. And the Yankees pitching staff has, especially the bullpen, has done a pretty nice job in the series. And number 3 for the Dodgers as well, is the bullpen kind of late getting up, because again, that they probably don't want to go back to LA. They're up late, kind of Blake Triman, Michael Kopech. Those guys have been really good at the back end of the bullpen so far in the postseason. So up late, the bullpen kind of closing things out and make sure the Yankees don't have a rally in them.
Yeah. And the big question is: say the Dodgers win this World Series. Say they win this series. Is there a chance that with having Otani for a while, with having Betts, with having all the talent they have, is there a chance they could be, and they potentially could become a dynasty? Because say they win this one, it'd be 2-5, and they win another one, there'd be 3-6. Is there a chance they could win 3 or 4 championships in the next 10 years? I think there is. I think they're just too talented, and they got a good manager in the dugout in Dave Roberts.
Yeah, I think there is, because Yamamoto's only 26. I know Flaherty's gonna be a free agent at the end of the year. Glasnow they just signed last year. Like they got some young guys, and Freddie Freeman, they got a nice core. Gavin Lux is still pretty young. Otani they've signed long term. Mookie's up there. He's like 32 now. So yeah, the Dodgers definitely could go kind of dynasty with that roster. It's pretty loaded. The team that they have, and there's still some wiggle room too because of that Otani contract. So the Dodgers are still going to be in, some of the big free agent signings. They're going to try to be there. So the National League is pretty good, but yeah, I could see the Dodgers, winning a couple, starting winning like, a couple World Series with this core that they got right now.
Yeah, I definitely could. Now, last week we did our series predictions. You took the Dodgers. I think it was in 6 or 7. I don't remember. Was it 6 or 7 games? It was in 6. I took the Yankees in 6. But seeing the way the series has gone, and seeing the way Boone has managed this series, especially in Game 1, I can't take the Yankees anymore. I don't think they're going to make history. I do think they win tonight. With Garrett Cole. I think they take it back to L.A., but I think the Dodgers close it out because you got Yamamoto against Rondon in Game 6. I don't trust Rondon pitching in Game 6. I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 6. I got to change now. From what I've seen in the World Series, I got to go. I'm going Dodgers in 6. I got the Dodgers. Unfortunately, I got the Dodgers winning their second World Series in 5 years. Justin, I assume you're sticking with are you sticking with your prediction, Dodgers in 6, or do you think they close it out tonight at Yankee Stadium?
No, I'll stick with the original pick. I think they'll close out in 6. I think Cole pitches well tonight, and the Yankees find a way to win like a 3-2 ball game, something like that, and they move on to Game 6. But yeah, I don't expect Rendon to go out there in Game 6 and pitch, give them, like 18 outs or something. So yeah, I think they'll go down to Game 6, and the Dodgers will hang on and win the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, we hope we're wrong about this. We hope we're wrong, but yeah, both of us right now, our hearts are with the Yankees, but our heads are with the Dodgers right now to win their second World Series in 5 years. Now, assume the Yankees do lose the World Series, and we talked about Aaron Boone. This is a crazy question because I think it's obvious that he's going to be back, but would you bring back Aaron Boone? I would, because I think he did a good job fixing the bullpen, and he did a good job, fixing the lineup, putting Glaber in the leadoff hole at the end of the year. I think he did a great job fixing the bullpen, taking Clay Holmes out of the closer role. And let's be honest. If the Yankees didn't fire Boone the previous 6 seasons, they're not going to fire Boone now when he led them to their first World Series appearance in 15 years. So I am going to say no. I'm going to say yes. I think Aaron Boone is definitely back as Yankees manager, even if they lose the World Series. Justin, do you agree?
No, he should be fired. Again, after game one, if George Steinbrenner was still alive, Boone would have made it back to the clubhouse before he got fired.
No, Boone, listen, if this was George from the 80s, Boone would have been fired in the middle of the series.
He probably would have. Yeah, he would have. He would have. Then
George after a suspension, probably after the World Series, but he would have never made it to the seventh year of his manager. He wouldn't have made it to the seventh year. But yeah, if George from the 80s, Boone would have been fired after game one.
Oh yeah, he absolutely would have. And again, I get it. He finally got him here, but we're really seeing they beat Cleveland and the Royals. They beat Cleveland and KC. No disrespect, but those teams beat up on the White Sox 13 times. Like, think that really helped them out. Not taking anything away from those two teams, but look, it's with the weakest American League we've had in years.
Oh, in a decade. I definitely think it's the weakest American League in a decade. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely this year. And again, I think Boone's in the bottom 10 of managers in the sport. What would he do with a Kansas City payroll or Cleveland? Or Milwaukee? Like, he's not getting that Milwaukee team in the playoffs this year. I don't know what the decision he makes. Yeah, but I give Matt Blake more of the credit for fixing the bullpen than Boone. The lineup last night, let's move Stanton down a spot. Even though he's been our best hitter. So,
and let me tell you, that's going to happen tonight because it worked last night. It's going to happen tonight. Watch. It's going to happen. I have a good feeling it's going to happen tonight.
I hope not. Take the bat out of your best player this postseason. Have him get a less at bats. Makes no sense. And he did it because it's a bullpen game, but because righty lefty, messes with David Roberts' option. But you're down 3-0. Just throw the best lineup in there. Boom. Come on. I wouldn't. We saw Mendoza this year too with the Mets. He looked like a really good manager. So I've always been worried it's going to be a Boone clone, but maybe not. Maybe there's, again, because Boone has no gut instincts, and that's always been my problem with him. You saw in game one, we've seen in the past, he has no idea how to manage a baseball game. He's got no gut for it. So I think he should be gone because I don't see this team having a hard time winning World Series with him as manager.
Yeah, I think he should stay because he got him to the World Series, and he obviously will stay because there's no way Al's going to fire him after getting to the World Series. Seeing that he didn't fire him the 6 years previous when they didn't get to the World Series and were a World Series contender all 6 of those years. So yeah, I don't see really any way that Aaron Boone is not back managing the Yankees next year. Now, do you consider this Yankees season? No, the Yankees, even if they lose, they made the World Series for the first time in 15 years. Do you consider this Yankee season a success? And I do. I consider it a success because they did what they had to do. They won the AL East. They won the American League. They did what they had to do. Yes. Could this series be more competitive with the Dodgers? Yes. If they won game one, yeah. But even if they lose, I would still consider this a successful season because, as we said earlier, this is the first time in 15 years they made the World Series. So I would consider this. I'll be disappointed if they lose. But even if they lose, I do consider this a successful season. Do you agree?
Yeah, because watching this year, it's pretty clear the Dodgers are the better team. They just are. They're the more superior team. I would have, if they got swept last night, I would have maybe said maybe I'd think differently of this, but I think it is. But I just because if the Dodgers don't make the same fundamental mistakes that the Yankees do, that's what it is, and it's another issue with Boone. They always think fundamentally, but yeah. So I think it's so I'd say it's a success, but because the Dodgers are they are the better baseball team.
Yeah. I think it's definitely to me it's definitely a success. I mean, I know everyone says, "Oh, World Series are bust, World Series are bust." That is nonsense. The team made it to the World Series. Yes, do I want to win it? Absolutely. But the team has made it this year. I know the American League wasn't good, but they made it somewhere where this team hasn't made it in 15 years. You can't call this season a failure. That's absolutely ridiculous. I think this definitely is a successful. No matter what happens, I know we're disappointed that they're down 3-1, but this definitely is a successful season for the Yankees. I mean, we know. From our football teams, we know disappointing seasons the last couple of years, okay? I know it from my football team this year. So, but this has been a nice ride, and it's probably not going to end the way I want it to end or how you want it to end, but it still was a successful season.
Yeah, it was, because I was still at elementary school the last time they made the play, or they won the World Series in 2009. So, yeah, so it's been a while. So, yeah, it's been a fun ride. I wasn't totally sure if they were going to get there this year. I know before the year, I think I had him losing the wild card round. I was not really. I thought Soto, I knew Soto would make a difference. I didn't think it'd make that much of a difference, especially with Cole being out half the year. And to get there, yeah, the American League was so bad this year, and they took advantage of it, which they didn't know totally they were gonna be able to. So yeah, it's a success. You hope you get Soto back, and you get another arm in the bullpen or another arm as a starter, and maybe you get back there next year and try to win it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if they can make a historic comeback, but it is very unlikely right now. But a top pick has been benched. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEG's Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEG's Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so week 9 of the NFL season is upon us, but before we get into the games, we got to get into the biggest story going into week 9, and that is the Colts benching Anthony Richardson. As you saw last week, he took himself out of the game for one play. I mean, he just can't. He's so inaccurate. He has not played well at all. Right now, he's not played well at all. And Shane Steichen made the move. Shane Steichen made the move to go to Joe Flacco, and this is a very, very difficult call. Very difficult call for Shane Steichen because on one end, Joe Flacco right now definitely gives them the best chance to win. But the problem is, on the other end, you are really, really, really hurting Anthony Richardson's confidence. And the question really is this the right move for the Colts? And I think it definitely is the right move in the short term, but I think this move could really, really, really hurt this franchise in the long term. And really, since Andrew Luck's retired, the Colts have really been, they've been just pretty much putting out veteran quarterbacks and not really having a franchise guy. And when they drafted Richardson, you thought this could be their franchise guy. I'm going to say this is a tough answer. I'm going to say no, because this could really, really hurt this franchise in the long term. This could really it also could be beneficial. Richardson could learn from this and turn into being a really good quarterback, but it also could really, really hurt this franchise long term. It could destroy Anthony Richardson's confidence. So I'm going to say no, because even with Joe Flacco, you might get into like the 7th seed in the playoffs, get like with winning 9 or 10 games, but you're still not competing with the Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Texans, the Bills, the Ravens. You're not, or even the Steelers. You're not competing with the top 5 teams in the AFC for the Super Bowl. So even with Joe Flacco, you're not a Super Bowl contender. So I know, he could lose the locker room playing Anthony Richardson, but for the long-term benefit of the quarterback and the franchise long-term, I think this is the wrong move, because let me tell you, if you don't have at least a top 15 quarterback, you're not winning a Super Bowl. And right now, Joe Flacco has played really well, but he's not right. At this stage in his career, I don't think he's going to lead a team to the Super Bowl. So I am going to say no. This is not the right move for the Colts.
I'm on the other side. I think it's a right move for the Colts just because Anthony Richardson at one point last week was 2 for 15. I know there was 10 pass breakups last week that the Texans got their hands on. He's not very accurate. He's a great athlete. I don't think he's a great quarterback. He only started 12 games at Florida. And compare that to Jaden Daniels who had 60. Like, I don't think he was totally ready to come out a couple years ago. I don't know if he's a great quarterback. I think he's an unbelievable athlete. I just don't know. He's completing 44% of his passes. Like, that's historically bad. So yeah, you're gonna lose the locker room. I never thought he was ready to come out a couple years ago. And at this point, I think Joe Flacco could kind of get you that one of the wildcard spots. I don't know if Anthony Richardson can. I know it's started up to like 10 games now. I don't think he's a very good quarterback. I just don't. I don't know if you remember what the Bengals were saying in the joint practice this summer. They were trash talking him. Like, he can only throw to one spot. He wants to run. He only wants to throw this one route. Like, that's the Bengals defense who's pathetic. And they're like, this guy can't play. So I don't know if it totally hurts his confidence on the line, but I just don't think he's ready. And and this team does have a shot to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I get it. I get the whole thing. They have a shot to make the playoffs and everything. But Anthony Richardson is the guy you took number 3 overall. He's the guy you made the investment in. He's supposed to be your future. I just think, and I know it hurts for Colts fans because I honestly think the Colts are definitely missing the playoffs with Anthony Richardson. But I think when you have a young quarterback like that, you draft a quarterback that high, because this is a rare situation that in year 2, you have the backup being better than the starter. Sometimes that happens in year 1. You have the starter, the backup, the veteran guy being better than the rookie quarterback. Sometimes it happens in year 1. This is rare where you have right now, Flacco's kind of a journeyman back. I mean, he was a really good quarterback with the Ravens, but now he's kind of a journeyman backup. It's rare that you have a journeyman backup being better than the starter in year 2. So, but I just think for better or worse, Anthony Richardson is your guy, and you got to stick with Anthony Richardson because you don't know if he's going to be able to come back from this. You just don't know if he's going to be able to come back from this. I know Shane Steichen wants to win games, but at this point, Joe Flacco has played well. He played well in Cleveland last year, but he's not a franchise guy that's going to take you to a Super Bowl. Anthony Richardson has more upside. I know it hurts the locker room, but I just think that Richardson has got to be your guy for better or for worse. And so that's why I think this is a mistake by the Colts.
Yeah, and I get it. You want to kind of keep going, throwing them out there, but like it's just so bad right now. Like, to be 2 for 15 in 2024, where all the rules are like tailored to the quarterback, like that's just not great.
Yeah,
and maybe you hurt his confidence by keeping him back out there. Like, if he continues to have rough outings, maybe that derails his confidence as well. And Shane Steichen, I know he doesn't want to lose that locker room. He's got his own problems with game management right now as well, and some of that stuff as well. But I just, Brady said it a couple weeks ago, I think, about how beneficial it was for him to sit out. And I know nowadays we want to play these quarterbacks right away, but it's never a bad thing to have these guys like sit and kind of learn for a little bit, learn for a year. And I think he would have really helped him. I know he got injured and he was in it, they get to see most of the time last year in the sidelines, but we rush these quarterbacks in. We want them to start right away, and sometimes it's not beneficial to their growth. And I just, in his case, I don't think he was ready, and I don't know. I don't know if he can. I don't know what his upside is because I just even at Florida, he was great against Utah that opener, and then the next week against Mississippi State, he was not very good. It
might have been Kentucky. I think it might have been Kentucky.
It was, maybe Kentucky. Like, I just remember he did not play well down there, in the swamp. Like, he was just so inconsistent even at Florida, and I think that's what he is. I just think he's going to be a very inconsistent quarterback at this level.
Yeah, and you made a good point with Brady about guys, sitting, how beneficial it is, and it was very beneficial to Jordan Love. It was beneficial to Patrick Mahomes. The problem, though, is the reason teams are drafting quarterbacks high is because their team isn't good, and their quarterback who was on that team the previous year isn't good. So You usually don't get that luxury. You don't get the luxury if you're taking high. You're not going to get the luxury to sit because you're going to a bad team. Now Jordan Love got that luxury because the Packers he went to the Packers when they had Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes got that luxury because he went to the Chiefs and when they had Alex Smith. Now Michael Penix is probably getting that luxury right now because he goes to the Falcons and they've had Kirk Cousins. Brady is right. It is very, very beneficial, but it's just it's just a situation we don't see too often because a lot of these teams that are picking high are bad teams. A lot of these quarterbacks are going to bad teams, and and not a lot of them. And it's tough. It's tough to become Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, or CJ Stroud, or Jaden Daniels. Those guys don't grow on trees, so it is tough. And a lot of these quarterbacks are getting ruined because they don't have the luxury to sit. The organizations really just don't have a choice. But you're right there. Brady's right about, it is definitely beneficial for guys to sit, and it definitely would have been beneficial for Anthony Richardson to sit.
Yeah, it would have. And
but here's the thing. He did have the benefit to learn last year when he got hurt and he was on the bench. He had the benefit to learn. And it just doesn't seem like though too that he really learned that much, which is kind of the scary thing for the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it hasn't, and I just think he's again think we get excited sometimes of watching the highlights because he can make some amazing throws that look great, but I don't think there's enough, and there's too many kind of erratic. He makes too many mistakes, and I think we get kind of fooled by some of that with some of the highlights that he's been able to put on. And it again. He's a big body guy. He's a really good runner, and it definitely helps guys kind of if you do have that luxury set out. Because Jordan Love's a great example because the first time we really saw him in a game, I know it was that COVID. It was Rodgers had COVID. It was on a short week, but he looked awful in that start against Kansas City, and now we've seen him, and he's kind of looks like one of the best quarterbacks, and it looks like that contract's been worth it so far for the Packers. So yeah, sometimes it is beneficial, and yeah, he was able to kind of sit out most of the year, but it really hasn't seemed like it's helped him out. And maybe a guy like Flacco can kind of help him out and kind of show him the reins, but I'm not confident in it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Richardson. Now, going to the game, the Sunday night game. Funny, they flexed this game to Sunday Night Football because the Colts looked like the Colts were 4-3. Vikings were 5-1. Both teams come off losses from last week, and I think this is a close, competitive game. I think Flacco. I think the thing is he's going to be able to handle some of Brian Flores' blitzes. I think he's going to be able to handle those blitzes. I think the reason why I think the Vikings win is they'll be able to contain the running game with Jonathan Taylor, and I think that they'll be able to move the ball in this Colts defense. Be able to run the ball with Aaron Jones. I think Darnold throws a couple touchdown passes in this game. I think he will throw a pick, though. I think he will throw a pick to keep the Colts in it, though, like he always does. But I think it's close and competitive at the end, but I think the Vikings win this. I got the Vikings 28-20. But, Justin, can Joe Flacco lead the Colts to a win on Sunday night in Minnesota?
I think he's as close, but I hit the Vikings as well here, 23-20. I think he's going to be able to kind of handle that pressure pretty well that Brian Flores is going to throw at him. Can they get that running game going with Jonathan Taylor this week? It's probably going to be pretty difficult. But I do think, where Richardson's probably going to throw an interception or two in this game, and probably struggle against a very good Flores defense. There won't be as many mistakes. But yeah, I don't think the Colts defense is good enough. I do think the Vikings run the ball well enough, and the Colts keep it close, but the Vikings ultimately snap their 2-game losing streak.
All righty, so more news in the AFC South, and that was Stephon Diggs, who is out for the year with a torn ACL. And the big question here is the Texans now, they're going to have Nico Collins back, but they're going to be able to Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. Without Diggs, do you consider them Super Bowl contenders? I still do. I think CJ Stroud has played well. I think Joe Mixon was a really good addition to this team. I think their defense is good. I think this is a better overall team than last year. I know they got Stephon Diggs to improve the team, but I think overall the team is better than it was a year ago. They're clearly the best team in their division, so they're going to make the playoffs. Now, they might not get the 1 or 2 seed. That's probably going to be for the Bills. That's probably going to be for the Bills and the Chiefs. But I do think this team is still a Super Bowl. If when they get Nico Collins back, I do think this team is a Super Bowl contender. I am still on the Texans being a top 4 team in the AFC and a Super Bowl contender. Yes, this is a loss, but I do still think they're a top 4 team in the conference and a Super Bowl contender.
The last couple of weeks when Collins was out, I really haven't liked the way the Texans has looked. Maybe now he's back and, the offense looks better. I know they did look a little bit better last week against the Colts, but I still didn't, love it. I know Joe Mixon's really helped out that running game this year, and that's helped out. I don't know. There's still a part of me that's not totally sold on the Texans yet. But hey, they looked really good before Collins got hurt. Maybe I usually a wide receiver doesn't make that much of a difference, but maybe Nico Collins does for that offense. I'm not. I guess we'll find out when he comes back. But I guess they're still. They can definitely get to the AFC Championship game because I do think they're right there. In the third spot there, where like the Ravens and Bills all kind of together. So wouldn't be sure if they got to like an AFC title game with the Chiefs, but I don't know. I still would probably pick the Bills, maybe even the Ravens, depending on the Ravens get any help in the back end.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there with the Ravens and for the Texans. They play tomorrow night against the Jets. The Jets, as we all know, last week we watched that game, are an absolute disaster. The coaching is the coaching. I'm telling you, it was bad. It was probably the worst in the league with Saleh. It's much worse with Ulbrich. Ulbrich is awful. How do you use 3 timeouts in the first quarter? And I was watching the game when they use their second timeout, and you saw Rodgers roll his eyes, I'm like, this is not good. The Patriots definitely have a chance to win this game because the Jets are an absolute disaster. Their coaching is absolutely terrible. But I do think they stay in this game with the Texans because the Texans don't have any. I mean, outside of Tank Dell, the Texans really don't have any receivers. I do think they contain Joe Mixon, but I think the problem is the Texans are going to force a turnover or two from Aaron Rodgers because he's still decent, but he's not he's definitely responsible for this as well. So I think they force a couple turnovers from Aaron. I think C.J. Stroud makes less mistakes than Aaron Rodgers. I think that's why the Texans win this game. And I think the ball's in Rodgers' hands again. And again, either the ball's in Rodgers' hands or the game's in the defense's hands, and they don't end up winning it. I got the Jets losing another close one here. I got the Texans 23-17 over the Jets. But Justin, can the Jets bounce back this week and snap their 5-game losing streak?
I wouldn't be totally surprised if you mentioned they're not received. Texans are kind of got a couple of that, but at Texans as well, they're 24-21. Probably it's the Jets' last stand here. They have. I know last week, you let Jacoby Brissett just absolutely go up and down the field on you, which a couple weeks ago was not the case. And you mentioned the coach Jeff Ulbrich. Now that he's not really, he's more responsible for the rest of the team and not just the defense. That defense is even taking a step back now.
That's the problem. That's the problem. As much as I didn't like Saleh, you should have made. And I've been saying that you should have made that move last year. If you're going to fire him last year. Don't fire him in the middle of the season because you're right. The defense, you saw it against Pittsburgh. They gave up 37 points. You saw it. They couldn't stop Jacoby Brissett in the last drive. Their defense has regressed because of this firing.
Yeah, it has, and and that was they're supposed to have one of the best defense in the league, and they still can't stop the run. Yeah, just Kobe Brissett moved the ball up and down the field on him last week when he had to come in for May. And yeah, like this is just a team right now and then Rodgers, kind of joking after the game when Ulbrich kind of said we're, in darkness right now. And Rodgers was going over, that darkness retreat he was in. Like, fans couldn't have enjoyed that. Like, it's not great. And was it, the owner, Woody Johnson, was it when they fired, I know I don't remember exactly when he said it, but he's like, I don't really think, overthink things or whatever, but it's like, you can tell he just doesn't really think about kind of, the solid, it was just such bad timing. And it's just going from bad to worse in a year where they spent so much to go all in. And this is a team that, man, is just, they're bad.
Oh, they're terrible. The Jets are terrible. They're a total mess. They're probably in worse shape as any team in the NFL because they're going to have to clean house everyone next year. I don't even think Rodgers is going to be back. I think they're going to totally clean house. This team is absolutely terrible. This Rodgers experiment has completely failed, and I think they lose again. I think they lose their 6th straight. I think the Jets lose their 6th straight tomorrow night to the Texans. But we got to move on to the biggest game in week 9. And unfortunately, there's a chance Jordan Love won't play, but you got the Lions who are rolling, and they're just rolling in every aspect of the game. Defense, special teams, offense. It's just, they scored 52 points and Goff had under 100 yards passing. That just shows you how this Lions team is just firing on all cylinders. We'll see what happens with the Packers if Jordan Love is going to play or not. But this game to me, I think it's a competitive game early on, but I think eventually, I just don't think even if Love plays, that he's going to be 100%. I don't think he's going to be 100%. I think the Lions defense is going to force a couple turnovers. I think their offense is going to have a big game. I think Goff's going to have a really big game, throw I think 2 or 3 touchdown passes. And I'm going to go with the Lions for the battle for first place in the NFC North. I'm going Lions here. I'm going Lions. I got the Lions here. I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. If they had Aiden Hutchinson, I probably would have to move off the Chiefs being the best team in the NFL and have them as the best team in the NFL because they're playing so well right now. Dan Campbell's done a great job changing the culture there. Turning this pretty much into a championship culture. I'm going Lions here. I got the Lions 34-24 over the Packers. But Justin, can the Packers, just like they did on Thanksgiving, beat the Lions for the second straight time and get into first place in the Vikings? No, they would be in first place. Get into first place in the NFC North.
No, I'm with you here. I got Detroit as well, 27-21. If Love's out, I know Malik Willis played pretty well, when he filled in earlier in the year for Jordan Love, but I don't think he's going to have much success against this Lions defense. I think they'll get after him. I think he's going to, they'll shut down that running game of the Packers. And, I think Jared Goff played pretty well again. And the crazy thing is, this is the first time all year Detroit's going to play outdoors. They've been in a dome.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see them play outdoors. That's nuts. First time they played outdoors. That's crazy.
Yeah, because there are a couple road games were Arizona, Minnesota, and Dallas. So
wow.
They only have 4 in the year, I believe, too, like outdoor. So we'll see. But I think Jared Goff plays well in this one. I think they get the running game going because you saw Jacksonville had success against Green Bay last week. Trevor Lawrence had a pretty good game. I know he threw a pick at the 5-yard, when they're at the 5, but I do think Detroit's gonna be able to carve up this defense, and I don't think Green Bay is gonna be able to keep up, especially Jordan Love's out.
Yeah, it's gonna be very. If Jordan Love's out, it could be like 34-17. It's gonna be very, very hard with Malik Willis. It's gonna be very hard for them to keep up in that game. It's gonna be very hard for them to keep up in that game. But say Green Bay does win this game and Jordan Love has a big game. Do we make an argument that they're the best team in the NFC because they would be 7-2? Do you make that argument if Green Bay wins this game? I don't know. I wouldn't because they would have beat him at home. But say Jordan Love is healthy and they win this game, do you make an argument that they're best team? They're the best team in the NFC. I wouldn't say that, but they would be close to it.
They would be close. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I still would like the Lions a little bit more. I know, especially if the Lions get added another defensive pass rusher.
That's going to be a big question going to the trade deadline next week. Is can they add a pass rusher? If they add a pass rusher, they're probably the best team. Let's be honest, they're probably the best team in the NFL.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't argue. I would not argue that. So yeah, I still think the Lions are a little bit better than them. I still like them a little bit more on paper than I do the Packers, but it would be pretty close. That NFC race is going to be pretty close with the Vikings sitting there, as well at 5-2 right now. So yeah, I'd still have the Lions a little bit better than the Packers.
Yeah, well, it should be a big game on Sunday. Hopefully Jordan Love plays, and if he does, it should be a really good game on Sunday afternoon in Green Bay. But we got an interesting matchup in Atlanta between the Cowboys and the Falcons. This game can really go. This should be a pick 'em because this game could literally go either way. And because we don't know if I don't think Micah Parsons is going to play in this game. So, but I think this game go either way because the Falcons have just been so inconsistent this year. I mean, they go out, they have their games against the Bucs where they score over 30 points. Then they have games against Seattle where they just don't even show up. They give up. They lose to the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers are good, but they lost to Justin Fields and the Steelers at home. So Atlanta's just been very, very inconsistent all season long. And Dallas, I mean, Dak is good. A lot of good, not great for the Cowboys. Cowboys definitely banged up on the defensive side. I think they're going to continue to be banged up on the defensive side. And I think Atlanta's going to take advantage of it. I think Bijan's going to have a big game, and Cousins going to have a big game. I think it's going to be an up and down. This game's going to be up and down. I think Dak has a big game. I think this is a game where whichever team has the ball last wins. I think whoever team has the ball last wins. I think it's back and forth, up and down. I think the Falcons are that team. I think Kirk Cousins leads that game-winning drive because Dak's probably a better quarterback overall than Kirk, but late in the game, I'd probably take Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is really good late in the game because you saw the comeback he had. He had the comeback, the drive against the Eagles, the drive against the Saints, the drive against the Bucs. He's had 3 come from behind wins this year. 3 of the Falcons' 5 wins have been come from behind wins this year. Come from behind wins in the fourth quarter this year. So I'm going to go Falcons here. I'm going to go Atlanta to go to 6-3 and continue to take control of the NFC South. I got the Falcons here. I got the Falcons 30-27 over the Cowboys. But Justin, can the Cowboys and Dak bounce back this week and get to 4-4?
I think they do. We got Dallas here 20-24. Their season's on the line here. And Dallas Atlanta just beat Tampa. Like I could just see Atlanta, as you mentioned, inconsistent, just not really showing, like being okay with a being okay with what happened last week. They got the 2-game lead now over the Bucs. Like, and with Dallas, the season on the line, I know Baker threw 2 interceptions last week, but Tampa without Evans or Godwin still pretty much did whatever they want against that defense. And I think Dak's gonna have a pretty good game this week. And because I know the Cowboys up front offensive line is not great, but who on the foul could you scared of the getting after
Nobody.
Dak?
Matt Judon's been a disappointment. Judon's been a disappointment. Hey, one of Elliott moves, good moves there. I ripped him
Yeah,
in the season.
one of a few.
That's one of Elliott Wolf's better moves right there.
Yeah, one of a few. One of a few good moves he's made so far. So yeah, Judon hasn't made much of a difference for him, and I just think Dak maybe will carve it up, and I think Dallas, the season on the line, they go into Atlanta here and get the win.
Yeah, this one could go either way. We'll see what happens in Atlanta on Sunday. Now, I will be at this game. The Commanders 6-2, with the dramatic win last week, take on the Giants at 2-6. And I'm going to say something to the audience right now. I said if he didn't play well last week and they lost, I'd be done with them. I am done with Daniel Jones. I am done with Daniel Jones being the franchise quarterback of this team. Last week, I had it. And the play that made me that brought me over the edge. The play where I had it with them was when they got that fumble from Bobby Okereke. They got that fumble from Russell Wilson. They got the ball. They had the ball in Steelers territory. Third down, and T.J. Watt and Jermaine Illuminor is 1-on-1 with T.J. Watt. How the hell is a tight end? How the hell is Theo Johnson not chipping there? How the hell is the tight end not there? That is absolutely ridiculous. And to me, that's on Daniel Jones to make sure he is there. So Jones snaps the ball. And, of course, T.J. Watt has the strip sack. I know they had another chance at the end, but guess what happened when he got that second chance? He threw an interception. Not all on Jones. I thought he made some good throws in the game. I thought he made some good plays on third down in the game. I'll give him that. And he's not a bad player, but his 1-15 record in prime time is just not good enough. It's not good enough anymore. It's 6 years in the league. It's not good enough. I think the Giants need to move on from Daniel Jones. And for this game, I do think this game is competitive because the Giants did play the Commanders tough last week. I don't think the Commanders are going to come in there and blow them out. I think the Giants defense will keep them in it early, but I think eventually the Commanders will take the lead in the second half. I think Jaden Daniels will have not a great game, but a pretty good game. I do think Daniel Jones, who is starting again this week, is going to make a big mistake in this game, which is going to hurt them. I think it's going to be close and competitive. It's going to come down to the end with, I think, the ball in Daniel Jones' hands, just like last week, and them not getting it done. That's why I'm going with the Commanders here. I got the Commanders 24-17 over the Giants. But, Justin, can the Giants get revenge from week 2 and snap their 3-game losing streak?
No, I'm with you here. I get the Commanders 27-17. The Giants did not force the Commanders to punt the first time around. And I think this defense of the Commanders is getting a little bit better kind of each week. And I don't trust the Giants at home to score.
God. One touchdown.
Notre Dame at 7 on Saturday. The Giants and Jets have a combined 6 touchdowns at home this year.
Let me tell you, I don't think the Giants might not get to 7 touchdowns at home all year.
No, I may not. The way things are going, they may not. It's been brutal and it's bad, and the hot seat's got to be worn for everybody in that front office now, and for Brian Dable too. Right now, with the way the team's looking, and it felt like most of that second half too. It was T.J. Watt was 1-on-1 the entire time.
Yeah.
Like that can't happen. So I don't trust the Giants offense at home to really keep up with the Commanders. And Washington, I think, continues to play well, and I think Daniels, JD Daniels takes advantage of a turnover too from Jones. So I think Commanders win by double digits.
And you talked about everybody's seat is warm. Yes, Mara last week said he's confident that he gave Shane and Dable a vote of confidence, but he said the same thing with McAdoo in 2017. Said the same thing with Judge in 2021. And I'd say if I had to pick one of the two, because I'm done with Jones. Okay. If I had to pick one of the two who I trust more, Daboll or Shane, it's Daboll because he did win a playoff game 2 years ago. A team that didn't have high expectations at all. He led that team to the playoffs and a playoff win on the road 2 years ago. So if there's a guy I trust more, it's Daboll. And here's another reason why. Joe Shane's first round picks are turning into disasters. I mean, Evan Neal can't get on the field. Kayvon Thibodeau he's good, but he hasn't played up to his potential. And Deonte Banks, what the hell is going on with Deonte Banks? He got benched for the second week in a row. He got me, and he's quitting on plays. That was another first-round pick from Joe Shane. I know this year's draft looks pretty good with Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy, but these two previous drafts do not look good. That's why if I have faith in, if you have to ask me who do I have more faith in, I'm definitely saying Brian Daboll over Joe Shane. Joe Shane did not do a good job drafting these first two drafts. This one looks better, but the first two were not good at all, especially in the first round.
Yeah, it's been a disaster. Like, yeah, now you're down Andrew Thompson. Devin Neal can't even see the field, and you could use a tackle right now. Like, it's bad. And yeah, Thibodeau, that was always the one thing with Thibodeau is like his motor, like it wasn't, even at Oregon, he'd take plays off and you kind of see it here. It's the same thing with Chase Young too coming out, and we've seen his inconsistencies as a pro. So yeah, Shane has not been great. Daboll, I've been a little bit more out on him, but I get it. Like he's shown some potential, and he was a coach of the year a couple years ago. So the one problem is that they do fire Shane.
I don't think they're going to fire Shane. I think depends on how the season goes. If they go 5-12, 6-11, I think they'll give them a shot with another quarterback. But again, Joe, he's just got. I just don't have a ton of. He has had a pretty good draft this year. I just don't have a ton of confidence in him going forward. Seeing the two drafts he had the previous 2 years.
Yeah, but the one thing is, if you want to keep him, you trust him to have a quarterback. You can give him more than next year. That's the other thing. If Daboll has 3 straight losing seasons, that's very difficult to survive. 3 straight losing seasons is very difficult to survive. Yeah, it is. So that's the one thing, and the QB class does not look right either this year. That's the other thing. You might have to pay a premium to move up because it's a lot of 2-6s right now out there that are going to be in 1-7. So that's the one issue. But yeah, it's tough. And what is it now? 7 of the last 8 years, the Giants have either been 2 or 6 or 1-7.
Yeah. Just can't figure it out.
Yeah.
If it's McAdoo is the head coach, Reese is the GM. If it's Shermer is the head coach and Gettleman is the GM. If it's Judge is the head coach and Gettleman is the GM. And now, I hate to say it, if it's outside of year one, I didn't think I'd be saying. I think when we were 2 years ago, we'd be sitting here saying this. If it's Daboll as the GM, and if it's Shane, and again, we're here now with Daboll and Shane. It's crazy that we're here again. We thought 2 years ago there would be no chance we'd be here at this point.
Yeah, you didn't. That year they won a ton of close games, and yeah, you thought they figured it out, and Daniel Jones played pretty well that year. But yeah, 2 years from that point, and yeah, it's ugly, and it's back to kind of what it was 3 years ago, and it's kind of. And that's a tough thing. Do you want to start over? And that's the other thing. Like, do you really want to start over again? So, yeah, it's a lot of tough questions to ask for the Maras right now. And yeah, it's difficult. And might see a good amount of Washington fans in that building too, which on Sunday, especially the way they're playing and the way they're going for the Giants.
Oh, 2 things you might see. Two things that could happen on Sunday that you could be. One thing you could be seeing, and one thing you could be hearing at Giant Stadium. You could be seeing a lot of Jaden Daniels jerseys, and you could be hearing a lot of boos, especially if they got off to a slow start.
Yeah, absolutely. That could totally happen this week again. And I get it. Fans are restless. And does Daboll make the move again and pull Daniel Jones out and go with Drew Lock? I guess it's possible if they get off to a slow start, but yeah, it's there's a lot of questions right now, and we'll see how the Giants kind of handle it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We got to move on to your team and give your team credit. They responded last week after being called soft. I know they played the Jets, but they responded and for them, for where the Patriots are now, that was a big win for them. And getting called out and winning that game, that was a big win for them. And that was a really, really big win for Gerard Mayo, because let me tell you, they lost that one. The rumors would start the 1-16 and him being 1-done. Those rumors would be going on right now. So that was a really, really good win for Gerard Mayo and the Patriots last week. And now they go into this week against Tennessee, and I think they do it again. I think they win another close game because the Titans are a mess. I think I think Brissett or Drake May, they manage the game. I think the Patriots defense, I know they haven't been that good this year, but they make it but the Titans quarterback situation has been a disaster. They make a stop at the end. I'm going to go Patriots here. I'm going to go Patriots 17-13. But Justin, after responding last week to being called soft, does your team win another one and win their second in a row and potentially get into second place in the NFC East?
Yeah, it would be crazy if they're sitting there second place in the NFC East. even though it'd be 3-6. But
there's a good chance because the Dolphins play the Bills and the Jets play the Texans.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's crazy to think about, especially a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I have to give Mayo credit. And the defense played pretty well last week. Part of me is still like, was that the Jets more than the Patriots playing better? I think we'll kind of find out this upcoming week. But yeah, Brissett, and I give Brissett a lot of kudos as well because man, he was taking a beating from the media on the field, and he responded and played well. And you know, and I thought he played. He did a job when he came in, and he did a nice job. And yeah, I'm surprised that the team handled the way they did last week, and it was a nice win. And I know Callahan and the Titans right now are a mess, and I know their offense looked better last week, but man, their special teams kind of killed them in that one. And um, you know, I I just right now I do think New England's the defense, they continue to kind of figure it out, and hopefully Mace, I guess he can only practice for 30 minutes today. I guess according he's like on step 3 of the concussion protocol. So you would have never got that with Bill Belichick, even that got that bit of information. So hopefully May can play, and I think he does enough. And that's the other thing. May got hit like 3 times on kind of getting slid in a late hit during like even the preseason. Never got a flag. Didn't get a flag Sunday. Like kind of we're taking these quarterbacks here. The NFL, come on, like get something.
Yeah,
Because that was kind of late, and that was the one kind of worry too. Was I didn't see any of the offensive linemen go after. I don't remember what Jet player did it. Like they didn't really go after him and kind of protect their quarterback, and that kind of scared me as well. Usually you see that, but they still got to win somehow. But I don't know if it was just mostly the Jets' incompetence as well.
Yeah, it could have been that, but I give him credit. I give him credit for stepping up and getting that win. But we got to move on to a matchup in the AFC between 2-5-3 teams. We got the Broncos taking on the Ravens, and I got the Ravens bouncing back here. I got them bouncing back in a big way. I think Henry is a big game. I think Lamar is a good game. I do think it forced a couple. I think the problem is in this game, I think the Broncos are going to be playing from behind, and that's an issue with Bo Nix and this Broncos offense. I think this isn't a game the Broncos. This isn't the kind of game the Broncos are going to want to play. I think they turn the ball over a couple times. I think the Ravens win this. I think they win it by double digits. I got the Ravens 27-13. But Justin, can the Broncos defense carry them to an upset win in Baltimore?
I think they keep this close. I got the Ravens as well, though, here 23-16. I think Knicks can make some plays against this Baltimore secondary. I know it's a game they probably should have won now. Hamilton dropped, 2 potential game-winning interceptions that would have sealed it. But, I do think, I know Denver might have a hard time running the ball, but I do think Bo Nix, can play decently here through the air this week. But it's definitely a step up in competition from what they've kind of faced offensively since, the Bucks in week 3. And, I know they look pretty good that week, but I do think Lamar does have a good day, and I just don't think Denver would be able to keep up, but I do think their D keeps it in for a while.
All righty, we got an AFC matchup in Buffalo between the Bills and the Dolphins, and the Bills have just owned the Dolphins for a while. So ever since Josh Allen has been there, I think it's no different on Sunday. I think they get the run game going. I think Allen continues to stay hot. I think Tua plays okay, but I think he turns the ball over a couple times. The Dolphins, you can say Tua's been out, but let's be honest. If Tua was healthy, this football team's not that good. They lost pieces in free agency. Lost Christian Wilkins. Lost Robert Hunt. Offensive line's not as good. Defense isn't as good, and that showed up when they blew that game against Arizona last week. I don't think it gets better for them. I got the Bills here. I got the Bills by double digits. I got the Bills 30-17 over the Dolphins. But Justin, can the Dolphins get revenge from what happened in week 2?
No, I don't think so. I got the Bills 27-17. I just think the Bills, they're the more physical football team, and Dolphins just another kind of inexcusable loss on Sunday. Just blowing that game to Arizona, a team that you should beat. And yeah, Tua looked pretty good, but yeah, their offensive line's not very good. I just there should be a lot more hot seat, I think, kind of for Mike McDaniel right now, because I don't know if he I think we've talked about I don't think he's a great leader. Again, he's another glorified play caller, and I don't even think he's been doing that great lately, even with 2 out. Like not even being able to scheme the ball to Hill or Waddle. So I think the Bills right now, they're playing really good football, and I think they're going to be able to kind of cruise to victory here on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the Bills should cruise 7-2 with this win. We got an AFC matchup in Cincinnati between two struggling teams, the Raiders at 2-6, the Bengals at 3-5. But I think the Bengals offense has a big day here. I know their offense hasn't been playing well recently, but I think they have a big day here. This is their get-right game. I think Burrow throws a couple touchdown passes. I think their defense forced a couple turnovers. I got the Bengals big here. I got the Bengals 31-17 over the Raiders. But Justin, can AP pull off a big upset victory and snap their 4-game losing streak?
I wouldn't be totally shocked because it's the Bengals are in the way they're playing, but I got Cincy here as well, 23-18. The Bengals are 0-4 so far at home. They got to protect the football. The Bengals do, and Gardner Minshew, he's gonna throw at least 1 or 2 interceptions, and that Raiders defense is only four turnovers all year, and the Raiders offense too in the goal line, it's abysmal. They can't really, they might have some success this week running the football because Cincinnati can't stop anybody. It's just they're not very physical at all up front, and you continue to see that. So
I mean, they could stop the Giants at home. That's the only team they think they've stopped all year.
Yeah, yeah, that's about it, which is crazy. And I know they looked good against the Browns a couple weeks ago, but they probably wouldn't have stopped Jameis Winston. I don't think they would have. So yeah, so maybe they could do what they did a couple weeks ago with Giants, but I still think the Raiders maybe finally find a semblance of a run game against this Bengals defense. So I think the Raiders keep it close, but since he finally gets a win at home.
AFC matchup in Cleveland as the Chargers take on the Browns, and I think this game is close and competitive. But I think with their linebacker out for the Browns, I think the Chargers have to run the ball well. I think they kick field goals. I think both teams kick field goals. I think a lot of field goals kicked in this game, but I think the Chargers defense makes the play at the end of the game on Jameis Winston, and I think the Chargers go to 5-3 here. I got the Chargers going to 5-3, Browns going to 2-7. I got the Chargers here 23-16 over the Browns. But Justin, can Jameis Winston lead the Browns to their second straight win?
I think they do this week. I get Cleveland 24-20. I think you kind of saw Cleveland an inspired effort now that they know they have a chance with Jameis Winston under center rather than Deshaun Watson. And look, if Winston could protect the football, which is always a question with him, I do think they were able to get away with this win. And because, I gave the Harbaugh, he's been settling for a lot of field goals the last couple of weeks. And again, he's got a pretty good defense, and he could probably get away with that most weeks. But at home here for Cleveland, I think Jameis Winston does enough, and I think Cleveland is able to knock off the Chargers.
NFC matchup out in Arizona between the Bears and the Cardinals. The Bears they lost a terrible game last week. The Bears lost an awful game. The Cardinals, they had a really good come from behind win. And I think the Cardinals keep the momentum going from that game. And I think the Bears, lose another one, and they're coaching. I mean, let me tell you, if they don't make the playoffs, Eberflus has got to be fired. It's an inexcusable. I know a great play by Jaden Daniels, but that was an inexcusable loss on Sunday to the Commanders. I think Tyler Murray's another big game. I think Caleb Williams, they move the ball, but I think they kick field goals. The Cardinals score touchdowns. And I got the Cardinals here. I got the Cardinals going to 5-4. I got them winning this one 28-23. But Justin, can the Bears bounce back from last week and stay in the NFC North race?
No, I got Arizona as well. They're 23-20. This is the Bears coaching staff is not one that I trust coming off a demoralizing loss like that and being able to help this team bounce back. And coming off a bye, and that's how the Bears looked offensively. Like going the fourth quarter, Caleb Williams, I think, only had 10 completions. They're lucky to still be in that game in the end. So I like Arizona. I know Arizona is such a tough team to figure out. They've been very consistent in their own right this year. But I think at home, the way the Bears lost last week, it's just kind of one of those, it's pretty hard to come back from. And I do think Kyle Murray plays pretty well here at home, and Arizona moves to 5-4.
Yeah, we got a matchup in the NFC South of two teams that look to be going nowhere. Probably the Giants are down there too, but probably the two worst teams in the NFC right now between the Saints and Panthers. I don't know if Derek Carr is going to come back, but I still think even if he does or doesn't, the Saints win. I'm going with the Saints here. I got the Saints. I'm going 20-12 Saints because I just don't think the Panthers with Bryce Young, they just traded Deontay Johnson. I don't think they're going to get the ball in the end zone. Justin, who you got here?
Yeah, I got the Saints as well, 24-20. If Carr plays, I think this is a bigger blowout. But whoever plays quarterback for the Saints, Rattler or Jake Haener, I think there's probably a turnover too. Maybe that helps out the Panthers get an easy touchdown there. And Sean, I don't know if you saw Sean Payton's comments about how bad the Panthers offense was. Like you don't usually see coaches kind of saying stuff like that. But so yeah, it's bad, and it's bad in Carolina right now. It's a total mess, and Saints should snap the 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, it definitely is. We will go to a matchup in Philadelphia. As the game was flexed out of Sunday Night Football because of the Jaguars and their coach Doug Peterson. They have not played well, but Doug Peterson for the second time heads back to Philly to face the Eagles. And I hate to say this, but the Eagles are picking up their stride. The Eagles are playing really well. I think Saquon has a big game. He's had a great year with Philly. Jalen Hurts has a big game. The Eagles defense, they forced a couple turnovers from Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars lost Christian Kirk. They traded Cam Robinson. I think the Jaguars get crushed here. I got the Eagles. I got the Eagles big, 30-10 over the Jags. But Justin, can Doug Peterson win his return back to Philly?
I don't think so. I got Jags. I mean, I got Philly here as well, 24-13. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been playing horrible. They're just kind of they don't really have much of a run game. I know Tank Bigsby's kind of helped that out a bit, but kind of towards the red zone, Lawrence is kind of thrown, near, like last week, threw an interception there near the red zone. I could see that kind of happen again this week, but yeah, you mentioned the Eagles are really figuring out the run game, and Jalen Hurts played pretty well last week against Cincinnati. I think Philly should be able to win this game by a couple scores here, and maybe this is it for Doug Peterson and Jacksonville, especially if they get kind of blown out here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that Doug Peterson might be the first coach. I mean, it's him, Dennis Allen are very close to being the next coach to be fired. But yeah, if the Eagles get blown out here, I would not be surprised at all if Doug Peterson gets fired. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Peterson gets fired if the Eagles get blown out. But I'm just bad. If the Jaguars get blown out, I wouldn't be surprised. If Peterson already got fired from the Eagles, if the Jaguars get blown out, I would not be surprised if Peterson gets fired. But we got an NFC West matchup in Seattle between the Rams and Seahawks, and I really like the way the Rams looked with their with Nakua and Cut back. I think they have another big game on offense, and Kyron Williams has a good game on the ground. I think each quarterback turns the ball over once, but both has good games. But I think it comes down to the end. I think it comes down to the ball in Stafford's hands. He leads a game-winning drive. I'm gonna go with the Rams here. I'm gonna go with the Rams to win this game. I got the Rams beating the Seahawks 27-24. But Justin, can the Seahawks win a big game at home and stay on top in the NFC West?
Now I get the Rams here as well, 20-21. Looks like Seattle's going to have some issues. You saw kind of the fight break out on the sidelines there last week, and the Rams are starting to get healthy. When the Niners with all those injuries, like the NFC West is in reach for LA. They're only kind of half game back right now, and everybody's kind of deadlocked at 4-4, and the Rams sitting there still at 3-4. And I think Stafford plays well. I think Cooper Kupp and has a big game through the air, and I like the Rams here, and Seattle's been very inconsistent, and they got kind of blown out last week, and defense is struggling. I do think Stafford may put up some points against Seattle here on Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely can see Stafford putting up some points against the Seahawks. The Seahawks haven't played well at home. They've lost 3 straight at home, so I definitely can see McVay and Stafford putting up some points against the Seahawks on Sunday. But we will wrap up talking about a rematch of a Super Bowl. We'll wrap up talking about a rematch of a Super Bowl 55 as the Bucs take on the Chiefs. I mean, this is going to be a tough game for the Bucs because they're going to be playing without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but I do think they stay in the game. I think Baker is a pretty good game. I think he moves the ball. I think the issue is they're going to have trouble stopping the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, I don't think they score a lot of touchdowns. I think they kick field goals, but I think this game is close and competitive to the end. I think the Chiefs defense makes a stop when they have to, and that's why I'm going Chiefs here to go to 8-0. I got the Chiefs winning this one 26-21. But Justin, can the Bucs and can Baker and the Bucs pull off a huge upset and hand the Chiefs their first loss?
I don't think they will this week. I have to choose as well, 24-16. I feel better if they had Godwin or Mike Evans out there, but Baker, again, he's probably good for a turnover too. I know they put up some yardage last week against Atlanta, but this is a totally different animal with the way the Kansas City defense is playing, and I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up. And I do think Patrick Mahomes kind of capitalizes off, the Baker turnover too, and I do think Kansas City at home gets a win Monday night.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game Monday night. But yeah, I can't see the Bucs without Godwin or Evans going into Arrowhead on a Monday night in a primetime spot, winning that game. But that's going to wrap up this edition for Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back in about 10 minutes talking about the big game in Happy Valley between Penn State and Ohio State. So make sure you tune in for that.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Meat, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting ClovercrestMedia.com.